Have the right to exist? I don't know if you have the right to exist. Based on the information that how it was presented to me and how you went about taking the land, then absolutely not, you do not have the right to exist. And I'm talking about Israel. That may be like, oh my God, he just said Israel. Let me give you let me also tell you something. Does America have the right to exist? Absolutely not. Does anywhere have the right to exist? Just from a godly standpoint, how can you say that you have the right to something when you had to take it from somebody else? How can you say that you have the right to exist as America when you had to kill off the population of people that was there in order for it to be America? Now,
oh my God.
Who has the right to exist? What does this right to exist mean? Do you have the right to exist? I don't know if you have the right to exist. Based on the information that how it was presented to me and how you went about taking the land, then absolutely not, you do not have the right to exist. And I'm talking about Israel. That may be like, oh my God, he just said Israel. Let me give you let me also tell you something. Does America have the right to exist? Absolutely not. Does anywhere have the right to exist? Just from a godly standpoint, how can you say that you have the right to something when you had to take it from somebody else? How can you say that you have the right to exist as America when you had to kill off the population of people that was there in order for it to be America? Now, I guess the word right, that is the word that comes into mind. But when I hear the word right, I hear entitled. No, America does not have the right to exist as far as it's been entitled to receive America. What has entitled Europeans to come to America to conquer? That's the word that we're going to use. To conquer America, that's not the same thing as having the right. You conquered it. Colonization, cool. The land in Palestine, that was conquered. But for me to sit here and say that it has the right to exist, what ends up happening? Oh, you're now associating this with something that God gave you? So God gave you this and gave you this for only you? The same God that is supposed to incorporate what I said earlier? Like, how can you appreciate a religion that is not meant for all of humanity? That does not take into consideration the things that all of humanity needs? Is that a religion or is that a cult? Religion is supposed to be an association to God. So the entire premise of God is a connection with God's children, right?
First and foremost, want to give a huge shout out to everybody that continues to tap in with us, like and subscribe and join our community. If you haven't already, please make sure that you do. We look forward to engaging in some dope convo with you that can help us all elevate. So like, subscribe, and maybe even share the video if you're feeling real generous. On that note, we'll let you get back to the video. See you soon. Ew.
And this only doesn't make sense because we've just allowed and condoned a certain way of looking at things that is completely irrational. This whole right to exist, whether it's America, whether it's Israel, whether it's any other place for that matter that was colonized and was conquered. Places in Africa conquered, places all over. A lot of the land that is controlled now is controlled based on people conquering it. So do you have the right? That's like a kid almost saying like, yo, I have the right to pass college. No, you have to go through college. You have to earn college. You have to earn a certain grade. You don't just have the God inherited right to be better than somebody else. to say this is the land that God gave me, so therefore I'm just okay with, like, okay, now I got to give you up. I got to give you my house because you're telling me that God gave you this land. It sounds insane. But because we haven't had people that are willing to say that, because we have a lot of our leaders, quote unquote leaders, our political leaders, that just take the money and that controls their morals, values, and principles, it sounds like what I'm saying is foreign. This is the whole point. Going back to my initial point, what religion is supposed to do, honestly, what bigger problem could religion be meant to solve than to bring humanity together for a particular day and time? And going back to what I was looking at, what I was saying with ChatGPT is, I was looking at Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Christianity. And the questions that I asked, and I was first mentioned Islam, how, women cover up, right? I'm looking at the history, and of course this is ChatGPT, so bear with me, but I'm looking at the history of why women are covered in Islam. And it's because Islam came in to solve a particular problem of that day and time, to where women were overly sexualized. So it was actually to protect against women being sexualized. It was to protect against perhaps a lot of the things that we see in society now. When we see things getting out of hand, when we see, I remember my dad telling me he looked over the balcony and saw a lady tanning naked at a community pool, at our apartment building pool. When I go to the apartment pool in Miami, when every woman is wearing a thong, and that's just the norm, then you kind of wonder, like, oh, what's going to be the reaction to solving this? Because perhaps that was a reaction. Perhaps women feeling like them being clothed and that being unfair, perhaps this is the reaction that we're now seeing with, no, I want to be able to dress however I want to dress. What do we talk about all the time? Everything that we see in society or a lot of other areas seems to be an overcorrection. An overcorrection, because to change anything, what do you have to do? You have to be radical, right? Because most of the time we don't change things until they become a problem. We don't change things when they're just issues or just, on a small level. Change only comes when it becomes a problem. So therefore, to fight back against this big issue, we have to go hard, but it's very hard for us to be able to gauge that going hard down. We'll just go hard until it becomes a problem moving in that direction. Then we just go hard going in the other direction. So when we have these religions that, whether it's Christianity, which in Christianity, a lot of the principles that Christianity was brought about, it was a response. I'll give you some of the historical context when it comes to Christianity and what that was responding to. So Roman society was highly permissive. Public nudity, sexual excess, or patriarchal dominance were common. Prostitution, orgies, and exploitation of women and slaves were normalized. What was the Christian response? Christianity introduced moral restraint, humility, and chastity as virtues. Modesty became a sign of spiritual purity. Women were encouraged to dress modestly and cover their hair. Chapter 1, Timothy 2:9. Both men and women were called to live in a sexually disciplined and faithful way, emphasizing internal transformation. Let's look at Hinduism. Ancient India had complex views on sex and the body. The Kama Sutra temple carvings and fertility rituals show that sexuality was integrated into religious life. However, Vedic norms also emphasize order, family duty, and gender roles. So the Hindu response includes teachings on, I'm going to mispronounce this probably, brahmacharya, celibacy or disciplined sexuality, especially for spiritual growth. Modesty varies. In some eras, women dressed revealingly, in others conservatively. Local culture plays a big role. So these are all just responses to a particular day and times issues. That's what it's supposed to be. So what ends up happening is, because certain people gain certain things from a particular religion, they don't want to let go of the power that they've gained from it, perhaps the finances that they've gained from it, the unity, them being on top, them being seen as an influential figure. Who wants to let something go that I just pledged? I just accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior. Now you think I'm going to be okay with another dominant religion coming into play? Doesn't it say in my religion I can't idolize other? So the religions encourage us to just buy into that particular religion because they needed a certain buy-in at that particular time to solve those particular issues. In my opinion, they weren't thinking long term. And this is just our approach to religion. The only thing, what would bring religions together? This way of looking at religions is the only thing that would bring it together. This is what will connect Islam to Hinduism, to Judaism, to Christianity, is an understanding, the premise. Hey, all these were very beneficial, perhaps to solve issues at a particular day and time. So now we can appreciate what each religion brought to the table at that particular time, rather than fighting over why we should carry these religions and this way of life that solved issues in the past moving forward when we have new challenges in the future and the now. Perhaps I'm looking at it the wrong way. Perhaps I'm looking at it the wrong way. But there's a reason why in first grade you may learn certain things. You're not learning those same things in third grade. You may need to understand the things that you understood in first grade to now have an understanding of maybe how to do algebra in 8th grade, 9th grade. But you're not holding on to the same things that you learned then. It would hinder your advancement as a society. It would hinder your growth. And what do we mean by as far as godly growth? What would be considered religious, spiritual, or godly growth in this day and age? It would be people being able to come together and living in harmony rather than trying to separate like we got in the Ozarks. You know, it's white only, or rather than having this group want to build this land that's just for them, no matter who's on it. No, we got to kick people off. We got to kick their religious temples off because this is ours. God gave it to us. I'm just asking. Let me catch up with a couple comments. I didn't read any. I'm just picking them out the blue. Steve wrote, I would say that in one aspect or another, every country on the planet is where it's at today because of one group conquering another on multiple occasions. Facts, as simple as that. So, and when you simplify it to that, Steve, it's like, let's just think about America. It's like, oh, well, yeah, does America have the right to exist? Well, that means that America had the right to kill all these people. It happened. It happened across the world. All right. I'm not just focusing on America. I'm not just targeting Israel. I'm not picking on these particular groups, but I'm just using them as examples because they're relatable to us. Clearly, we're close tied into America, Israel, these conflicts. So for me to sit here and say, let's say that I said that God gave Europeans America. So that would pretty much mean that everybody here, God was okay with committing a genocide on the people here. Like, does that sound like something God would okay? So the right to exist? Absolutely not. Do people have to respect you that you exist? I mean, do people have to respect America? I don't know. I mean, that's up to each individual person. But this whole right, when we start talking about who has a right to this, who has a right to that, it just goes left for me. Unc said, I think Unc put it right. I have the right to be a billionaire, but I'm not. Like, it's like, what is this whole right thing? All right, so let me, but why can't minds mind our business? Hold on. Unc wrote, according to the Bible, women had the right to own property. When did it become a law in this country that a woman had the right to vote? Yeah. Who determines the rights? The power? Do you have the power to exist? Absolutely, you have the power to exist. But I don't know about this whole right stuff. And people haven't called this stuff out. And this is why these narratives continue to get pushed. And it's almost like a kid that you never tell no to, or that you allow a kid to believe in Santa or whatever. I don't know. If you never tell that kid, like, yo, you don't have the right to do this, the kid is going to grow up thinking they have the right. If the kid never is told that they can't bully other kids in the classroom, we're actually doing a disservice to the kid by never telling that kid that. We see this all the time with parenting. Kids that are never told no. How do we see those kids behaving? Let me adjust this mic real quick. All right, so we're going to get into, once I can adjust this correctly, if I can, there we go. All right, so let's get into the first video that we have for today. This was a bit disturbing. And as always, who knows, like the views that we express, the things that we see, we can't associate everybody in Israel with these views. However, I think it's perfectly fine and appropriate and our responsibility to understand that when these views become represented in the actions of the government, then we can address it and call it out for being an issue. It's one thing if we're just screaming something in America, like, we're just something racist, or you got a couple random people screaming it. But then when the actual laws start to come into play, where it's like, oh, shoot, like they're actually doing this stuff, you got to address it. Let me share the screen, and you guys tell me what your thoughts are in seeing this. This is Israeli media. You may have to look at some of the closed captions to understand what they're saying. Ew, it's Dak. Just want to thank you for checking out our video and visiting the OG Network. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure that you give us a like. And if you're looking to join a community of inspired individuals striving for purposeful abundance, subscribe. And if you're feeling real generous, share the video with some friends and family. All right, I'll see y'all soon. Ew.